Why do deities have seemingly contradictory characteristics or natures or roles? So, for example, Mars is the god of war, but he's also the god of agriculture. And there are various deities that are battle deities, but also deal with childbirth. So, for example, Macha um, and also I believe Epona. And people kind of go, well, what on earth have those two things got to do with each other? That's really weird. Well, I would suggest that deities have contradictory characteristics because people have contradictory characteristics. So, you know, in my professional life, I'm a web developer, and in my personal life, I'm a Wiccan high priestess. You might think that those two things are somehow contradictory, but they're actually unified by an interest in communication. And I also write poetry and other things. But a deity can have multiple different characteristics, and just like people can. So, for example, Odin is associated with poetry because he stole the mead of poetry from Suttung, and because Suttung had stolen it from somebody else. And also, Odin is the god of war, of certain aspects of war, and he's the god of shamanic journeying and also the runes. So Odin's thing is about journeying between the worlds, but also protecting the worlds, because he sits on his high throne, the Hlithskelf, and looks down upon the worlds to see what's going on. So we can sort of see some connections forming there. And it's also possible that people chose these contradictory aspects of deities because, or attributed contradictory things to deities, because they wanted to stress that mystery is the resolution of paradox. So you have a paradox and you kind of, well, why is that like that? Why are those two things contradictory? And you kind of go, well, it's a mystery, and you can only get it when you experience that mystery or you encounter that deity, and that's when the paradox is resolved, by that encounter with the numinous. So I don't mean mystery in the sense of we will never know, I mean mystery in the sense of you can only know it by experiencing it. So I think there may be many reasons why deities have contradictory natures. And I think that it's probably different for each one, but it's certainly worth sitting with those seemingly contradictory characteristics for a bit and seeing if you can figure out why that is, or have an encounter with them so that you can experientially understand why that is. So I hope you've enjoyed this little foray into pagan theology. If you like it, then check out my other videos. And I also think that and now I've forgotten what I was going to say, because this is an ad hoc video. Oh yes, I just wanted to say that my position on the polytheist spectrum is that I think most deities are individuals and should be treated as such. And you know, you may think that the guy who comes to fix your plumbing is the same guy every time, but they might be different plumbers, and you might think that you meet a deity and it's the same deity, but you don't necessarily know that. So it's always best to treat people as individuals, even if you're not sure. And you know, sure, the deity will let you know if they are an aspect of something else. Because one of my things that does my head in is if I go to an event and they're treating the horned god as the same individual as the dying and resurrecting god of the harvest, I'm like, they're two completely different people. What the hell's going on here? I don't get it. Yeah, so, and there's another example of a deity with seemingly paradoxical attributes, because Cernunnos or Hern, who also may be two different entities, are gods of the hunted and of the hunter, the predator and the prey. And that's a seemingly contradictory thing, but I think we can see how that one is resolved in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, treat gods as individuals. They're a bit like people, and deal with them as you encounter them, and enjoy. So, thanks for listening. Blessed be.